if you want Donald Trump to win, then say that, otherwise I'm speaking.
Vice presidential candidate Kamala Harris was confronted by anti-war protesters during a campaign speech in Detroit. Now, this video has been going around social media, and in my view, it's not the best optics for your campaign, right? That said, there is context here that is being left out, whether intentionally or not. It needs to be addressed, okay? Now, first, I want to show you her reaction to the protesters in the moments before. Now, they were chanting, "Kamala, Kamala, you can't hide. We won't vote for genocide." Here's her initial response.
If he is elected, it's all good. It's all good. I'm here because we believe in democracy. Everyone's voice matters, but I am speaking now. So Project 2025. Look, if he is elected, Donald Trump intends to give tax breaks to billionaires and big corporations. He intends to cut Social Security and Medicare. He intends to surrender our fight against the climate crisis, and he intends to end the Affordable Care Act. You know what? If you want Donald Trump to win, then say that, otherwise I'm speaking.
All right, so you can see how she was, nice about it, and then she went off. Okay, I actually kind of don't blame her. It is hard to be interrupted during your speech. Now, here's the other piece of context that matters. Before the rally, she met with members of the Uncommitted movement. Now, it's important to note that the protesters at the rally were not from that group, according to organizers speaking to The Guardian. So I don't know who were the protesters, maybe just random protesters, but it certainly wasn't from Uncommitted, okay? Now, in a statement on Wednesday, the movement said that its co-founders, Layla Alabed and Abbas Alawi, had spoken with Harris and Tim Walz at the rally and presented their concerns about the U.S. supplying weapons for Israel's war and occupation against Palestinians. They also had requested a formal meeting to discuss an arms embargo. According to the release, Harris said that they shared her sympathies and expressed an openness to the meeting. Now, later on, there was an administration official that says, well, we're not interested in an arms embargo. Okay, so again, that's going to have to be cleared up. Okay, that's going to have to be cleared up. But if there is no openness to an arms embargo, well, then obviously that's not a good thing, right? Now, that said, Alawi is a delegate to the DNC. According to the statement, he said, quote, "We want to support you. Vice President Harris and our voters need to see you turn a new page on Gaza policy that includes embracing our arms embargo to save lives." It added that Alabed said, "I'm Palestinian. I'm a founder of Uncommitted. Michigan voters want to support you, but we need a policy that will save lives in Gaza right now. I meet with community members every day in Michigan who are losing tens and hundreds of family members in Gaza right now. We need an arms embargo." I completely agree with that position. Yes, I think we do need to stop sending bombs that get used against schools and hospitals. And look, that arms embargo is a way to get, I believe, Netanyahu to the table to talk about peace. But if we're not willing to say no bombs unless you get to the table, then this conflict is going to continue. So now that said, the pair also thanked Walz, the governor of Minnesota, for acknowledging their movement back in March, where Walz had told CNN, "Yeah, look, they're engaged. We're really proud of Minnesota. Civic responsibility is some of the highest voter turnouts. These are voters that are deeply concerned, as we all are. The situation in Gaza is intolerable." So now look, I'm going to be honest, though. I don't think there's anyone on a presidential ticket on either side, any party, that is currently good on this issue. In fact, there's a lot of politicians that are not good on this issue. So I'm just being completely fair about that. Now, a lot of responses from Democrats are like, well, why don't you target the Trump campaign. Why don't you protest at the Trump campaigns? Well, that'd be ridiculous. Trump has already made his position very, very clear in that he'd basically, if he could, glass the entire area and turn it into a resort. All right. So no, the protesters are going to be targeting Harris because she seems to be the most open to being able to move on this issue. Right. And so they believe that pressure works, that this pressure campaign will get her to reconsider. I think they're right for the most part. Okay. And definitely somebody, I'm definitely somebody who thinks that, yes, you should absolutely pressure politicians in order to, push and to push them so you can see the things that you eventually want to see get done. Okay. So, and what we do want is a ceasefire, a return of all the hostages, of course, and peace in the region, and a rebuilding in that region, and peace and security for both Palestinians and Israelis. I don't think that's too much to ask, but there are people like Benjamin Netanyahu, for example, that are definitely standing in the way of that. Now, Asma Mohammed, the campaign manager for Vote Uncommitted Minnesota, one of the 35 delegates nationwide representing the uncommitted movement, did say this about Walz, quote, "He's not someone who has been pro-Palestinian in any way. That's really important here. But he is also someone who's shown a willingness to change on different issues." And one of the examples, of course, is that Walz used to be a very pro-gun guy. Okay, had an A rating with the NRA, and then turned around and started getting F ratings because he started actually pushing for common sense gun regulation. So that's one example where, yes, you can definitely turn Walz to doing more progressive things. And so, yes, he seems to be more receptive. And as far as the Harris administration or a possible Harris administration, also, at least the hope is that they are going to be more receptive. Okay, so now, Eliane Farhat, senior advisor of the Uncommitted National Campaigns of the executive director of Take Action Minnesota, also said this on Tuesday, quote, "Governor Walz has demonstrated a remarkable ability to evolve as a public leader, uniting Democrats' diverse coalition to achieve significant milestones for Minnesota families of all backgrounds." So definitely a high praise for Walz. Now, Harris has also publicly echoed calls for a ceasefire and said that she would not be silent about the high number of civilian deaths in Gaza, which is definitely not the Biden administration's position. That said, she also told the Israeli prime minister that she will always ensure that Israel is able to defend itself, including from Iran and Iran-backed militias such as Hamas and Hezbollah. So you can see that she's kind of walking that line. She said Israel has a right to defend itself, and how it does so matters. And I think right there, you can be like, okay, well, how is Israel defending itself? By flattening schools and also taking Palestinians and allowing the IDF soldiers to sexually abuse them. Look, there's been reports of widespread rape, torture, and abuse of Palestinian prisoners. There's video going around of that right now. So now the White House has already responded to that by saying that is deeply concerning. U.S. State Department spokesperson Matt Miller said on Wednesday that there should be an investigation into it. "We have seen the video, and reports of sexual abuse of detainees are horrific. They ought to be investigated fully by the government of Israel, by the IDF." Now, at first, when I read that, I was like, oh, they're just going to do we investigated ourselves and we found that we did nothing wrong. But no, I'm actually kind of surprised that so far, one IDF reservist has been indicted for suspected abuse at the facility. 5 others are in military custody on suspicion of sodomizing a detainee with an object, along with other abuses. So that's absolutely horrific. And look, let's see what happens. I hope they are actually severely punished for what they've done. But at the end of the day, the overall goal here should be to end the war. Okay? And the best way, I believe, is to do an arms embargo to force Israel to come to the table to do some negotiation. Okay? Currently, the Israeli government is the one that's rejecting all the peace agreements, which would lead to the return of all the remaining hostages. Okay? Look, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu had anonymously told the press on May 4th that Israel under no circumstances will agree to the end of to end the war as part of the agreement to free our abductees. This isn't about the hostages. This is about doing complete and utter total war. Okay, that's it. While one U.S. official had told Reuters that Israeli officials have, quote, not appeared to approach the latest phase of negotiations with Hamas in good faith. That was back in May. Okay, they're not negotiating in good faith. They're not interested in a peaceful solution, which is why the United States, why we, who are supplying them with weapons and money, should withhold the weapons and money in order to force them to go to the negotiating table. That is the role that we have to play in this. And Harris, so far, look, you know, she can say everything that she wants, but unless she's able to entertain that notion and say, look, we will cut you off if we have to, go to the negotiating table or we are going to cut you off. And if she does that, that would be incredibly strong and send an amazing message that, yes, she is listening to people. And yes, she does take this seriously. We have yet to see that. And maybe it's possible. Now, that said, look, you have war hawks in the right-wing government of Israel who want more war. And they are dead set on using our money and our weapons to do it. Okay? And so that's why, again, there's a lot of frustration here that Harris has not staked out a policy stance on this issue, has not really been forceful with it. Her response here was not exactly great, even though with the context, it's a little bit better. All right. I do say too, right, that interrupting your speech multiple times is not going to get you on her good side, because at the end of the day, she's also a human being and nobody likes being interrupted. All right. But again, we don't know who did that. It wasn't the uncommitted movement. She's meeting with the uncommitted movement, and they have been incredibly pragmatic and reserved and really pushing for, you know, to have her get moved at all on this issue. And so they're trying and they're doing their best. And you know, I absolutely support them. I think there is a way to put pressure on her, by the way, you know, without it getting to the point where she'll ignore you, because we don't want to get to that point. If we get to that point, we've lost the plot and we've changed nothing. No, I actually do want to get change. And I feel like there's still a chance to push her in the right direction, because she seems to be open to listening. And so we just have to make sure that we are smart about the way we approach her and smart about, you know, how we do things and what we say. Because if you alienate people, that's not going to get allies. Okay. And right now, we need all the allies we can get. Certainly the American people are not on board with what's going on here in Gaza and the civilian deaths and the bombings and all this stuff. And so there's got to be a way that we can leverage that popular support as well as, you know, it being the right thing to do to pressure her into finally taking a position. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, subscribe, hit the bell icon in order to get notified whenever a new video is released. And if you want to support independent, progressive media through this difficult time where it seems like everybody is shutting down, you can become a member on our YouTube page, you can become a subscriber on Facebook, or you can go to my Patreon. It's patreon.com/Jeff Waldorf. Thank you.